This happened last summer. I was 35 years old and a freelance journalist. I thought diving into a story about local disappearances might help me find my purpose again. The Appalachian Mountains seemed like the perfect place to dig for answers. I set up my tent near a trailhead and felt excited about uncovering stories. But the woods were different. The silence hung heavy, like something was watching me. Day after day I hiked along trails. The trees were tall and dark, blocking out the sun in spots. I could feel the weight in the air. One afternoon, I stumbled upon an old flyer pinned to a tree. It was yellowed and torn, listing faces of people who had gone missing years ago. I recognized some of them. I felt uneasy, but I pushed on. I tried to shake off my worry. Maybe it was just my imagination playing tricks, but the whispers I heard when the wind blew felt like they were calling me. I even caught glimpses of shadows darting behind me. Every time I turned around, I found nothing there. That night, I sat by a campfire wanting to jot down notes, but I couldn't focus. The faces from the flyer kept haunting me. Locals looked away whenever I asked about the disappearances. Their mood shifted when I pressed for details. I felt chills, as if I'd crossed a line not meant to be crossed. One day I decided to follow a path I hadn't taken. The rocks under my feet felt strange, like they had been moved. I started to get nervous. I wondered if I was being led somewhere I shouldn't be. I wanted answers, but was I digging up something better left alone? As dusk approached, I turned to head back. That's when I saw a figure standing just out of sight among the trees. My heart raced. This wasn't right. I felt it in my bones. I called out, asking if they needed help. The figure stayed still. The wind stirred, making the trees rustle. I could barely see anything, but I could feel the air grow cold. Then I heard it. "Why are you here?" The voice came from the figure, but it didn't sound human. I froze. I turned to flee, but my legs felt heavy. I turned back, and the figure had vanished. I felt completely lost. The trail twisted and turned like a maze. Panic set in. I glanced over my shoulder again, hoping to find my way back, but it only felt like the trees were closing in on me. It hit me then. I could end up just like those faces on the flyer. I stumbled along, desperately looking for the way out. Then the wind picked up again, and I heard a whisper. My name. It wasn't my imagination anymore. Whoever or whatever was out there knew me. I felt a wave of fear wash over me as I pressed onward, unsure if I would ever escape these woods. I stumbled through the dark woods, my heart pounding louder with each step. The whispers had faded, but their echo lingered in my mind. Why are you here? I couldn't shake that question. It hung in the air like a dark cloud. The weight of the trees felt heavier, their branches clawing at the sky as if trying to keep secrets buried. I tried to retrace my steps, but every direction felt wrong. I felt like a pawn in a game I didn't understand. Branches snapped underfoot, and I could swear I heard soft, shuffling footsteps behind me. I paused, straining to listen. Nothing. Just the wind. No, not just the wind. It sounded like voices threaded through the rustling leaves. "Get out!" This time it was clearer, more urgent. I took a step back, glancing over my shoulder. Was someone following me? I turned to continue down the path, but stopped short. A tree, large and gnarled, loomed ahead. Its massive trunk was split in two, revealing a hollow space, and pinned to the inside was another flyer. I moved closer, trepidation clawing at my gut. The paper was fresher than the last, new faces staring back at me with vacant eyes. They looked lost, just like me. I barely noticed the time passing until the darkness felt oppressive, as if the night had come to swallow me whole. The names printed below the images were just as haunting. Each one felt like a warning. I reached for my phone, hoping for a signal. Nothing. I felt my stomach drop. My only connection to the outside world was useless. My head spun as I realized I was completely alone, cut off from help. A dizziness washed over me, making my knees weak. But I couldn't let panic take over. I had to find a way out. At that moment I heard it again. the unmistakable sound of someone breathing, just behind me. I turned quickly, but the path stretched out empty. My heart raced. There was no denying it. I was being watched. I felt the urge to run, but something held me back. Curiosity, maybe. I made my way back to the flyer and studied the names and faces more closely. One face stood out, Sarah Whitmore. I remembered reading about her in an old newspaper article. She had vanished only a few miles from here. I had glossed over her story, thinking it was just another mystery. Now it felt personal. Then my surroundings changed once more. The wind picked up, and a chill crawled over my skin. The air thickened. I heard a rustling behind me, and this time it came paired with a whisper, low and sinister. "Find her." My breath caught in my throat. The urgency in the voice pushed me forward, but my feet felt like they were glued to the ground. I didn't want to go deeper into the woods, but the name resonated in my mind. Suddenly, something moving in the shadows caught my eye. I turned my head, hoping to catch a glimpse. And there, among the trees, was a silhouette, shifting silently, as if waiting for me to make a move. "Sarah!" I called out, my voice trembling. I took a cautious step. The silhouette shifted again, and I could see the outline of a white dress, fluttering. Fear gripped me tighter, but I followed. Maybe, just maybe, if I found her, I'd find my way out. But as I stepped closer, everything went black. The world around me vanished, swallowed by darkness. I felt a dizzying pull, something beyond my control. My last thought was a desperate prayer. Please don't let this be the end. I woke with a start, gasping for air as the darkness finally let me go. My heart thumped wildly, and I blinked against the dim light filtering through the trees. I was on the ground, the damp earth clinging to my clothes. Panic clawed at me as I scrambled to sit up. "Sarah!" I called again, but the only response was the rustling leaves. Had I really seen her? My mind felt foggy, like I'd been dragged into another reality. Regaining my composure, I pushed myself to my feet and scanned my surroundings. I was still in the woods, but everything felt changed. The trees seemed taller, their shadows deeper and more menacing. I took a few tentative steps forward. My phone was out of my pocket, displaying a no-service message. The same useless window as before. Frustration bubbled inside me, but I forced myself to breathe. I had to find a way out. As I moved cautiously down the path, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being followed. My instincts screamed at me to hurry, to get away from whatever lurked behind me. The whispers returned, clearer now. They swirled around me like a cold mist. Find her, before it's too late. I pushed through the growing fear. They were just voices, right? Nothing real. But then I heard it again, the unmistakable sound of footsteps, too close for comfort. I quickened my pace, my heartbeat pounding louder in my ears. I needed to find a road or a clearing, something that signified help. The path wound tighter, and something glinted at the corner of my vision. I turned, expecting to see nothing, but there it was, a small metallic object half buried in the dirt. I knelt down to grab it, a keychain, twisted and rusted, with a faded tag attached. "To Sarah," it read, along with a date 2 years earlier. A chill crawled down my spine. Why would this be here? I muttered to myself. The previous article from the newspaper flickered in my mind. The vanishing, the mystery. What if finding Sarah led to finding the others? What if they were all connected? Before I could dwell on it too long, a rush of wind whooshed past me, carrying with it a shadowy figure darting between the trees. My heart raced anew as I stood up, gripping the keychain tightly. "Who's there?" I shouted, hoping for a response. My courage felt thin even as I called out. Then I heard it, a soft giggle echoing through the woods like a distant bell. It was the same sound I had imagined in my dreams, too familiar. I felt a relentless pull toward the sound, like an invisible cord tethering me. I knew I shouldn't follow, but the name whispered in the back of my mind. "Sarah!" The laughter pierced through the trees again. I hesitated, the decision weighing heavily on me. But another warning flickered across my mind. Find her before it's too late. With a deep breath, I pushed forward in pursuit of the voice, unsure of what awaited me. And then, as I stepped into a small clearing, everything changed. The laughter faded, replaced by a chill that settled deep in my bones. That's when I saw it. An old, weathered shack, half hidden among the trees, overrun by thick vines. The air buzzed around me, alive with a sense of dread. I had to decide, go inside or turn back, but something told me that turning back was no longer an option. My feet carried me forward, each step echoing the urgency of the voice that had compelled me this far. Behind me, the whispers intensified, and I took a step toward the door, feeling a pair of eyes watching me from the shadows. The door creaked ominously as I pushed it open, the sound a sharp protest in the stillness. Inside, the air was stale and thick, filled with the scent of mold and something else I couldn't quite place. The dim light filtering through the dusty windows revealed a space cluttered with old furniture and cobwebs. I stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under my weight. The walls were lined with remnants of a life long forgotten, photos, dusty knickknacks, and tattered remnants of wallpaper peeling away. But all of it paled in comparison to what drew my attention next. In the far corner, a small table held a collection of trinkets, broken clocks, rusted keys, and a notebook with pages yellowed by time. It felt almost like a shrine. I approached cautiously, my heart racing as the whispers coiled tighter around me. Find her before it's too late. I picked up the notebook, brushing off the dust. The cover was blank, but when I opened it, I felt a jolt. The handwriting was messy, frantic. It read, "Sarah has to be here. I can feel her. The others. They were taken." My pulse quickened with each line I read. The words seemed to pulse with urgency. Just as I turned the page, a loud crash echoed from somewhere deep within the shack, startling me. My grip tightened around the notebook. What was that? My heart sank as I strained to listen. There was someone else in here with me. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. No answer came, only an echo of my own fear. The whispers sharpened, almost joyous, urging me to flee. But something anchored me in place. I couldn't leave without knowing about Sarah. In that moment, I felt an icy breeze whip through the room, making every hair on my body stand on end. The notebook slipped from my fingers, landing softly on the floor. I turned toward the sound of the crash, my heart racing as dread settled in my stomach. Then I saw it. A shadowy figure at the edge of the room, half hidden in darkness, watching me. Fear clenched my throat. I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. "Who are you?" I shouted. "What do you want?" The figure didn't move, but a whisper floated through the air, a familiar voice. "Help me." My breath caught in my throat. It was her. It was Sarah. I took a hesitant step forward, but the figure shifted, vanishing into the shadows. My heart pounded as I felt a surge of panic. "Wait!" I called, desperate, but silence enveloped me once again. A loud thud sounded from behind me, the door slamming shut. The world turned dark. I stumbled back, eyes wide as I realized I was trapped. My breathing quickened, the whispers crescendoing in my mind. I had come to find Sarah, but now I was lost in a web that was closing in. I needed to get out before whatever was lurking in the shadows returned, and I needed to find her before it truly was too late. I took a shaky breath and scanned the room, my heart racing as I searched for a way out. The shadows felt alive, creeping closer, and I knew I had to move. In a moment of clarity, I turned back to the table. The notebook lay there, its pages fluttering as if caught in a breeze that I couldn't feel. I snatched it up again, determined to uncover more. As I flipped through the pages, I found more frantic scribbles. "They know I'm looking. I hear them at night." My palms began to sweat. Who were they? I was terrified, but felt the need to keep reading, to piece together what had happened. Sarah was with the others. We all went in, but I'm still here. I can feel her. Then, as if the world was responding to my panic, the room grew colder. I felt a presence, heavy and ominous, hovering in the air. I shoved the notebook into the crook of my arm and took a few steps toward the door, praying it would budge. Nothing happened. The door remained sealed, a solid barrier against my escape. I had to face whatever was lurking in the darkness. A distant scraping sound drew my attention, a slow, dragging noise like fingernails across wood. My breath caught in my throat, and all thoughts of bravado evaporated. "Show yourself!" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. An eerie silence followed, as if the house itself was holding its breath. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to gather my courage, and opened them to the sight of the figure once more. This time it was closer, just on the edge of the dim light. "Help! Me!" Sarah's voice came again, clearer now. I could almost see her face, a pale outline against the darkness, features twisted in fear. My heart ached at the sight. "Where are you?" I asked, taking a step forward, though every instinct screamed at me to run. "What do you need?" "Find the others. Before they take—" She faded back into the shadows, her voice trailing off. I felt a sinking feeling in my gut. The whispers swelled around me again, growing loud and chaotic, echoes of demands, pleading, and anger all mixed together. Then a flash of movement in the corner of my eye drew my attention. I turned just in time to see a figure dart behind a piece of old furniture too quick to identify. A surge of adrenaline flooded my veins. Whoever, whatever that was, they were not alone. I grabbed the nearest rusty key from the table and gripped it tightly. If I was going to find Sarah, I needed to be ready. I had to figure out how to open the door, or I would have to confront whatever was hiding in this forsaken place. Just as I steeled myself for what was to come, a loud crash reverberated through the shack, shaking the walls. I could feel my heart thumping painfully in my chest. I had to act now. The whispers turned to screams, a cacophony urging me to leave, but I steadied my resolve. Someone was here, and if I didn't find the truth, I might be next. I lunged for the door, rattling the handle desperately. In the chaos, I caught a glimpse of something on the floor, a broken mirror shard reflecting flickering light. My breath hitched. That's when I saw it. My own reflection was gone, replaced by a dark, swirling abyss. The darkness felt suffocating. My heartbeat echoed loudly in my ears as I stumbled back, the key slipping from my fingers and clattering to the floor. I felt cold sweat trickle down my back. I couldn't comprehend the sight in front of me. The mirror shard, once reflecting a face, now mirrored something else, something void and endless. I darted my gaze toward the rest of the room. The whispers intensified, swirling around me like a cyclone of lost souls. Panic threatened to swallow me whole, but for Sarah, I needed to push through. She was counting on me. I forced myself to focus on the corner where I had seen the movement. "What do you want?" I called out, my voice trembling despite my effort to sound strong. Silence answered once more, choking and thick. I took a deep breath, trying to control my fear. Whatever lurked in the shadows had to have some connection to Sarah and the others. I had to find them. I turned to the door again, rattling the handle with renewed determination. "Let me out!" I shouted. The door responded with an eerie creak, but it refused to budge. Frustration bubbled up inside me. I was trapped, but I couldn't just wait here for whatever was stalking me to make its move. In a burst of anger and desperation, I scanned the room for anything useful. The table held remnants of dusty trinkets and tattered books. One book caught my eye. Its spine was cracked, and it looked older than the rest. I grabbed it, flipping through the pages. Strange symbols were scrawled across the yellowing sheets, alongside notes written in a frenzied script. There was a page marked with a thin ribbon. I pulled it free and read, "The voices call to the lost, seeking what they can't reclaim." My heart sank at the implication. But then, as I scanned the notes further, a name jumped out at me. Sarah Mitchell. The words burned in my mind. I turned the page, searching for more information. She knew she was searching for them. They took them, and now they want more. A wave of dread smashed over me. I had to find Sarah, but what did they want? Suddenly I heard the sound, a dragging noise closer than I'd ever felt, now just outside the door. I forced myself to peer through the small window in the door, but only darkness stared back. Fear coiled around my heart. "Who's there?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. There was no answer, only the sound of something heavy moving. That dragging noise grew louder, like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. Then everything went quiet. I held my breath, straining to hear anything over the pounding of my heart. The shadows started to shift, twisting and swirling as if reaching out toward me. That's when I saw it. A shadowy figure began to form, inching toward the door. It paused, as if considering its next move. I took a step back, the notebook clutched tightly to my chest, the words about Sarah echoing in my mind. This was it. I had to choose, wait here and become another lost soul, or confront the darkness head-on. I couldn't give in. I had to find Sarah, find the others, before it was too late. I steeled myself, raising my voice once more. "I'm coming for you, Sarah. I will find you." Then, without warning, the door rattled violently. My breath caught in my throat as the darkness surged forward, ready to swallow me whole. The door groaned under the force of the darkness, pushing against it, inching open just a crack. My instincts screamed at me to run, to find safety. But I couldn't leave without searching for Sarah. The chilling thought of her alone in this nightmare fueled my resolve. With trembling hands, I forced the door open wider, straining against whatever horror lurked beyond. As it swung open, the heavy air spilled into the room, thick with the scent of mildew and decay. Shadows danced around me, and I could feel a heartbeat, no, a presence, invading my space. "Sarah!" I called again, my voice slightly stronger now. I stepped cautiously into the hallway where the darkness seemed to cling to the walls like a living thing. The only light came from a few flickering bulbs that barely illuminated my path. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I moved forward, straining to hear any signs of life. The whispers had returned, brushing against my ears like a sinister reminder that I wasn't alone. I followed the sounds, hoping they led me to Sarah. I turned right at the first intersection, and my gut twisted. There, at the end of that corridor, was a doorway, slightly ajar. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around me, pulling me toward the light spilling from the crack in the door. Steeling myself, I approached, my heart racing. With each cautious step, I remembered the notes from the book, the urgency, the hidden secrets. Were they connected to this room? I reached for the handle, my fingers cold and slick on the metal. I pushed the door open, half expecting to be met with a ghostly image. Instead, I found a small, dimly lit room filled with old photographs. Dust coated the surfaces, but the images were distinct. Families, smiling faces, and a few blurry figures shadowed in the background. My breath caught when I noticed one photo prominently displayed, a group of people gathered together on a hiking trail. In the center stood a familiar face. Sarah. "Sarah!" I shouted, but the sound felt lost in the overwhelming silence of the room. I felt a rush of hope as I neared the photo, desperately searching for anything that could lead me to her. But beneath the joy in their smiles was a creeping dread that tightened my chest. In the corner of the room, an empty chair faced a wall covered in newspaper clippings. My heart sank as I read the bold headlines. 7 hikers missing on Appalachian trails, no trace left behind. Each article spoke of inexplicable disappearances and whispered about local legends that could have swallowed them whole. The last clipping, dated months earlier, chilled me to my core. It described the last known sighting of Sarah and others, quoting someone claiming, They'll take you if you listen to their calls. Suddenly, I understood. The darkness, the whispers, it all revolved around this. Then I heard it again, the dragging noise. I spun around, heart racing. A shadow loomed in the doorway, and I felt a surge of dread pooling in my stomach. It was more than just a figment of my imagination. Whatever it was, it had found me. I had to get out of there. I needed answers. I needed to find Sarah. But as I turned to escape the room, the door slammed shut behind me, plunging me into darkness once more. I backed away, my heart beat loud in the silence as the shadow remained stock still at the door. It felt like a wall of darkness had closed in around me. I pressed myself against the wall, desperately searching for an escape. The only window in the room was barred, and the photographs towered over me like a judgmental audience. The dragging noise had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that pressed against my ears. I felt the weight of the darkness and the reality that I was trapped alongside my fear. I knew I had to think clearly. Panic wouldn't save me. Taking a deep breath, I turned to face the shadow, pushing myself forward. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaking but loud enough to fill the room. No answer came, but nothing moved. Just that suffocating stillness. I needed to move. I moved toward the desk, hoping to find something useful. My fingers brushed against a stack of papers, sending dust swirling into the air. Among the clutter, I found a torn piece of fabric caught on a sharp corner. It was the same color as the jacket Sarah had been wearing. Then I heard it again. A faint whisper, almost like a beckoning. "Come." It was softer, yet more urgent, tuning into my thoughts. I froze. The sensation of someone pulling at the edges of my mind left me unnerved. My instincts flared up. Maybe the articles were right. Were they watching me? A loud bang echoed from the next room, jolting me back into focus. Whatever lurked outside was growing restless. The shadow shifted slightly, then dissolved into the gloom, but I felt its lingering gaze. I turned back to the photos, searching for something more. The first article I'd seen described how the missing hikers had been seen last at a certain trailhead. My mind scrambled as an idea formed. If I could reach that location, maybe I could find Sarah. Maybe she needed me to find the path she'd taken. But first, I needed whichever entity had taken her to let me out of this room. I stepped closer to the door, placing my palm flat against its surface, and called out, "Let me out of here!" To my shock, the handle turned slightly at my touch. I pushed down with all my weight, and the door creaked open just a fraction. Relief washed over me, but the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices pleading softly. They still wanted something from me. Panic clawed at my throat. I hesitated, then pushed harder against the door. It swung open, throwing me into the hallway. I stumbled out, glancing back to ensure the shadows hadn't followed me. A chill crept down my spine. Something felt wrong. I was in a different corridor, one I hadn't noticed before. The walls were covered in even older portraits, but now the faces in the paintings bore twisted, pained expressions. I could have sworn they were watching me with hollow eyes. And then I noticed it, footprints in the dust, leading deeper into the labyrinth of hallways. With renewed determination, I followed the trail, but couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. A sudden rustle stopped me in my tracks. "Sarah?" I called again, my voice barely rising above a whisper. In that moment, I wished for answers but feared the truth lurking ahead. Something was waiting for me, and I was drawing closer. The footprints were shallow, almost like they were hesitant to leave a mark. I took a step closer, my heart pounding in my chest, and scanned the dimly lit corridor. Each breath felt heavy in my lungs as a sense of dread washed over me. What if I found Sarah? What if I didn't? I followed the prints, trying to focus on the space in front of me, but my mind raced with possibilities. The rustle came again, louder this time. I turned sharply, my breath hitching in my throat. Shadows flickered along the walls, dancing like restless spirits. "Hello?" I called out again, this time louder, the desperation creeping into my tone. The darkness seemed to swallow my voice, leaving only the echo of my own fear. I pressed on, reminding myself that I had to keep searching for Sarah. Suddenly, just a few feet ahead, the corridor opened into a small room. The footprints led straight in. I hesitated at the threshold, intuition screaming at me to stop. The door creaked as I pushed it open, revealing a scene that made my stomach churn. There was an old wooden table piled with assorted items, maps, old clothes, and even a camera, but it was what lay beneath the table that caught my eye. A worn backpack lay half open, dirt and leaves spilling out. I recognized it instantly. It was Sarah's. "Sarah!" I whispered, panic rising in my throat. I reached for the bag and rummaged through it, desperate to find something, anything, to prove she'd been there. My fingers brushed against a crumpled note. I unfolded it carefully, my heart racing in a mix of hope and dread. It was a warning. "Stay away, take the trail back, the dark follows." A chill spread through me as the words sank in. Someone had been trying to protect her, to warn her, or maybe it was a trap. My mind spun, plagued by confusion. Was Sarah safe? Had she heeded the warning? A loud crash erupted from behind me, prompting me to spin around. The door I had just come through slammed shut. I rushed towards it, pulling at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if someone, or something, was holding it closed. My fingers trembled as I pressed against the wood, my breathing quickening. "Let me out!" I shouted, panic rising in my chest. That's when I saw it. In the corner of the room, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked and dark. Its eyes glinted, and it pointed at the note in my hands. A sickly grin spread across its face. "Did you think you could leave?" Fear flooded my veins, pushing me into survival mode. I needed to act fast, but I was frozen, caught in the web of uncertainty and looming danger. Was I too late? Would I find Sarah, or had I just stepped into a trap? My mind raced, filled with dark possibilities. The figure moved closer, shadows clinging to its form, and all at once the reminder of the stories I'd uncovered crashed over me. I was not the first to encounter this horror, and I might very well become another name added to the flyers pinned to the trees. "Let me go!" I shouted, my voice cracking with desperation. But instead of retreating, the figure inched forward, the corners of its twisted grin deepening. In that moment, a sharp instinct kicked in, fight or flight. I couldn't let fear consume me. I had to find a way out. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I dashed for the backpack, grabbing whatever I could find. My fingers closed around Sarah's crumpled note and the camera, and in one swift motion, I hurled them both at the figure. To my surprise, they vanished into the shadows like a spark swallowed by darkness. A growl escaped from the figure, its playful demeanor shifting into something far more menacing. I took a chance and charged towards the door again, my shoulder slamming against it. It rattled but held strong. Not willing to back down, I pounded my fists against the wood, desperation pushing me on. "Sarah!" I screamed again, my voice echoing in the confined space. The shadows danced around me, almost mocking my plea as the dark figure shifted back, its form momentarily abstracting into the thicker shadows, and then returning, more solidified, as if fed by my fear. Then I remembered. The symbols in the notebook, the warnings. If they were true, then there might be a way to appease whatever was keeping me here. "I just want to help," I called out, my voice wavering but firm. "I'm looking for Sarah. I just want to get her back." A pause ensued, the silence stretching like a taut rope. The figure hesitated, tilting its head as though considering my words. My heart raced. Perhaps this was my opening. "If you can help me find her," I continued, "I swear I won't disturb this place again. Just let me find her." Slowly, an unearthly wind rustled through the room, and the figure momentarily flickered as if my words had touched something deep within it. The door suddenly creaked and moved a fraction, beckoning me. Taking a tentative step back, my heart soared. My plea had somehow resonated. Helpless to resist the pull of discovery, I threw one last glance toward the backpack, then slipped through the thinning shadows and into the corridor. The air felt heavier beyond the door, but I pushed through, guided more by instinct than logic. The hallways stretched and twisted, but the footprints were clearer now, leading me further into the gloom. As I followed, I felt the weight of 1,000 eyes burning into me from the walls, watching, waiting. The path widened into a clearing under the dark, looming trees, an area that felt strangely familiar. The wind whispered through the leaves, louder now, almost imploring me to listen. With each step deeper into the clearing, I saw something ahead, a flicker of white in the darkness. At first, I thought it was yet another trick, a mirage conjured by desperation, but as I moved closer, I felt a warmth radiating from it, familiar and inviting. There she was, standing still as if caught between two worlds, the features of my friend bathed in soft light, a stark contrast to the darkness enveloping the rest of the woods. "Sarah!" I called, fear lancing through me, but as I approached I felt a barrier, an invisible wall that shielded her from me. I reached out, desperate to bridge the gap. "You have to come back. We have to get out of here." But no sooner had I spoken than she faded into darkness, leaving me grasping at air. My heart sank, the echoes of the whispers intensified, swirling chaotically around me. "You must leave," a voice cautioned, mingling with the wind. "You must leave before it's too late." I turned to escape, my thoughts racing. Perhaps there was something I could do, some way to rescue her. If those who vanished were all intertwined with Sarah, maybe they all held the key to breaking this nightmare. I raced back towards the shadows, knowing that whatever I faced would still be lurking there, waiting for another chance to trap me. I had no time to question whether what I had seen was real or just another illusion. I needed to take action. With startling clarity, I recalled the images and faces I had seen in the cabin, their desperate expressions urging me to remember. I clutched the camera I had taken from Sarah's bag, my only lead. My mind spun with uncertainty, but the memory of that flickering white form compelled me forward. Bursting into the shack once more, I started rifling through the scattered photographs, piecing together the stories. My heart raced as I searched for a connection, something I could use to save Sarah and free the souls lost to the dark. Sweat dripped down my brow, and just as I felt the cacophony of whispers reaching a climax, something within the chaos lined up. One photo caught my eye, a group shot taken on the very last hike, Sarah at the front, smiling, but with a shadow lurking in the corner, a figure I hadn't noticed before. Panic surged as a new noise echoed through the air, a scraping sound closing in, but I steadied myself, determination igniting a fire within. I didn't know how long it would take to piece together the truth that was fragmented through the history of those lost, but I would confront whatever darkness was waiting to swallow me whole. As the shadows merged and twisted behind me, I felt lost but alive. I had to uncover the secrets of this place. I had to find Sarah. If the darkness wanted more, then it would find me ready to fight. In that moment, a new conviction coursed through me. I wasn't just a journalist looking for a story anymore. I was here to survive, to reclaim the missing, to break the silence surrounding them. And as I dug deeper, my quest for answers transformed into a battle against the very force that had tried to take me. Only time would reveal if I would find what I had come for, or if I would become another name whispered among the trees. I moved forward, stepping into the uncertain darkness, knowing that the truth might lie hidden in shadows, but I would chase it until my last breath. And deep down, I hoped that maybe, just maybe, Sarah was out there too, lost but not forgotten.